problem of the ECHR and indeed much of the British judiciary. Well, Paul Turner is head of chambers and barrister at Imperium Chambers. Overwhelmingly, public opinion is going to say, when it sees a headline like this in the Mail, let's boot them out of the country. But it seems, Paul Turner, we're not able to.
Indeed, and you said at the beginning a couple of things that I would agree with. That firstly, that there was going to be an influx of people through small boats, and secondly, nobody was going to get rid of them. But there are a number of reasons why. I mean, we know where these people are coming from, France.
Yep.
And prior to Brexit, they could have been returned to France under the Dublin...
Only if they'd previously claimed asylum and the numbers sent back were minute.
That's a failing of the government.
Well, it's all a failing of the government, but...
But the Dublin Convention provided that if you could establish... They didn't have to claim asylum in France. They could be returned under the Immigration Act and under the Dublin Convention to the country from which they came, and that was enshrined in the 3 Dublin Conventions. But when the Brexit negotiations were concluded, someone rather dropped the ball on that one, because it would be easy enough, and I know you've advocated it, turning the boats around and sending them back to France, and they could have been processed back in France and had their claims dealt with there. The issue of stop the boats is it's a 3-word slogan. It's one that I wonder if this government will hold up to with the hands, face, space slogan, where it turned out that they weren't really doing it themselves.
Yeah, quite.
Because the fact is, when I started doing immigration, which was about 25 years ago, working for the government, there were about 100,000 migrants arriving, but they were coming via lorries, they were coming via aeroplanes, and as former ambassador was saying, there would be a lot of terrorists that are arriving. The point that you raise, which is, how do we get rid of them? It's difficult. It's impossible to remove them as per the Refugee Convention.
But how? Okay. Well, it was very interesting to hear Sir Mark saying
there are 2 things. I think
that he thought the Refugee Convention should be updated.
I don't think there is a need to update it. The Refugee Convention
under ECHR. Under ECHR,
the real issue.
ECHR is at the absolute nub of this.
I agree.
Is it your professional opinion that it would be easier to deport people if we were not part of the ECHR?
If we were not part of the ECHR, we could deport pretty much everybody that would otherwise qualify for refugee status, because the 2 are coterminous.
Yes.
And so we could pretty much deport everybody. And the problem is, and these people are, I'll come to this point, the problem is that 75% of the people that claimed asylum were effectively recognised, I think, in the last year before coronavirus, as being refugees. Now,
yeah, which is actually what we do, because we can't send them anywhere.
Well, no, that's because in law they're entitled to it, because they're fear on the basis of their either race, religion, ethnicity, or sexuality. What's left is, and the people that you're talking about, is obviously the unsavoury characters. And we've had unsavoury characters. There was a case of Chalal, which was a very famous case many years ago, where the government just couldn't remove the person because of Article 3. So the House of Lords discussed this matter back in 2002, I think, and they came to the conclusion that removing people such as these people who shouldn't be here would not necessarily make the United Kingdom a safer place, because if they're in the United Kingdom, they can be monitored.
Oh, I don't buy into any of that old nonsense.
Well, the security services do. Well,
I don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't want them here.
Yeah, but neither do I, Nigel. But if you think about it, if they're in the United Kingdom and they're forced to live in a house and they're not allowed the internet, then there's some modicum of control. But if they're sent back to Iraq and back to the gunpowder factory, as it were, they've got no control over them at all.
I'd rather take that chance. But, Paul, thank you very much indeed for joining us here.